Well, hello. We're here today to talk about understanding menopause. So I'm Jennifer Harrington. I'm Clinical Director of Menopause Natural Solutions. I'm a naturopath with over 21 years of clinical experience. I am an author, I'm a podcaster, and I'm a perimenopausal woman myself who's been in the thick of it going through this transition for at least 8 years or so myself. So we're here today to talk about the female hormone life cycle, so we can get an understanding of what is actually happening for us at this stage of life. So if we start at the very beginning, you'll see here at birth, we are actually born with hormones. Puberty is when we really start seeing the beginning of hormonal surges and higher levels of hormones. So it generally starts with estrogen. Estrogen will start surging. When we do get an ovulation, progesterone is released as a consequence of ovulation. And eventually they get their act together, they get in cycle, life starts moving and changing. And we hit our fertile years where we have a much more stable ride. In general, I know for many women in general doesn't exist, that they've had endometriosis or other sort of hormonal conditions that have blocked a normal fertile stage for them. But for most women, it's about 25 years. So from maybe 15 to 40, you have your more stable fertile years. In my particular case, I started noticing perimenopausal symptoms around 38, 39. So got me in at the tail end of my 30s. And what then starts to happen is that things become less predictable, that you haven't necessarily ovulated each month. And when you don't ovulate, you don't get a surge of progesterone and you don't get the balancing out of the hormones. You start to see that rather there's a difference or a ratio change between how much estrogen and how much progesterone we've got. Some women find also that they get unopposed heightened estrogen at this time. So if you've been experiencing heavy bleeds, or maybe you've experienced fibroids or polyps, these are all signs of unopposed estrogen, where estrogen is really taking control of your life. And what I want to point out, if we go back to puberty, there was a beginning, a middle, and an end. Is anyone here still going through puberty? Yeah, no, I didn't think so. It had an end. And that is probably one of the key takeaways that I want from today, is that the perimenopause, menopausal transition has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if you're going through the thick of all of these symptoms, please don't think that this is your new normal or that life is only going to get progressively worse from here. Not necessarily true. The experiences that you're having as a perimenopausal woman is that experience. It's not the rest of your life, because it will have an end. So when is the end? When can you expect that to happen? So basically, we're looking for your last menstrual period. Menopause is confirmed 12 months after that point. For some women, this is a straight ride. They just stop menstruating, 12 months later, they're menopausal. For other women, they might go 3 months and get a period, might go 6 months and get a period, might go 9 months and get a period, and have to start all over again. But know that there is an end. It will come. And that point is 12 months after your last period. What you should also know is that from that point on, it's not that you have no hormones. It's that you have a lower level of hormones. During our fertile years, we have a lot of ovarian-based hormones. And these hormones are there to help regulate the menstrual cycle so that you can conceive and have children. Later on in life, after menopause, you don't want to be having children in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. No, those days are gone. So we don't need the level of hormones that we had then. So what we have now instead is a lower and a different form of estrogen, but we still have it. That's something most women don't know. They just think their hormones are gone. That's it. They are just lower and a different form. So you'll have that until the end of your life. What I really like to point out is when we look at the graph, most women still have a third, if not longer, left in their life after this point. This is a normal, natural cycle. This was meant to happen. And they've generally found that societies with a higher amount of postmenopausal women actually thrive. So something to look forward to. There were a few other things I wanted to tell you about this. So there is a lot of similarities between pre-puberty and post-menopause. And what I find is if you're thinking back to when you were a child, before puberty came, the words that spring to mind for me are cheeky, curious, fun-loving, and hopefully these are also the words that are going to describe you in postmenopause. Just that return to that childlike quality, the cheekiness, the fun-loving, because it's time to enjoy life. You're no longer worried about menstrual cycles and conceiving. That's done. It's our time for us to shine in our own bodies, in our own lives, we've got the starring role in your own movie. All right, moving on. What we find with symptoms is there's a bell-shaped curve to them. So believe it or not, 20% of women come through here, 0 symptoms. They simply stop menstruating one day, 12 months later, menopause hits, no signs or symptoms. It happens. I know women that's happened, this has happened for. It's possible. But we also have 20% of the population at the other side. And for these women, it's extreme and it's miserable and they have no quality of life. So although I said there is an end, it can take decades, and there's no way I want you waiting up this end of the curve for things to calm down. This is when you put your hand up, you get all the help you can. I would get some medical help, some naturopathic help. I'd say yes to everybody to get you a better quality of life. But for most of us, we are somewhere here in the middle. And my goal is to help you all get on this side, so the mild to moderate symptoms and away from the moderate to severe symptoms. The big takeaway is that transitional symptoms are temporary, but don't wait too long because they can take a decade to disappear. So when we're talking about these symptoms, what are some of the symptoms that you would expect to see? So I know a lot of people go, oh, hot flushes, night sweats. They're actually not the top symptoms of menopause. They're not the ones that are experienced by the vast number of people. And what is also really interesting to take away is that no two symptomatic women are the same. Somebody might have more sleep issues. Somebody else might have more mood issues. Somebody else might have fatigue, someone else pain, somebody a combination of them. But you are all different, and you will all show up with different types of symptoms and different combinations. It's very rare that somebody has one. It's more likely they have none or a combination of the above. And this is just a sample of symptoms. Like my friend Andrea Donsky from Morphus has found over 110 symptoms linked in with the transition. So there's a lot more to discover and to research. But this just gives you an idea. It can be anything in the body that changes. So I have a leaky bucket analogy. And in my experience, this is why some women are more likely to have a harder time with the transition than others. You can imagine if I've got a bucket over here with 3 holes, and there's a bucket over here with 30 holes, you're going to lose so much more vitality and energy and life force out through all of those holes. So I really see my job is to help you locate these holes in your bucket so we can patch them up. And that really is root cause medicine, where we're finding what's gone on and we're correcting it from a base. But every woman will have different leaky holes in their bucket. With my particular bucket, I had issues with iron. So I was anemic. So I would have had a hole in my bucket from anemia, which has now been patched up. But you might have never had that. You might have had issues with mold in your household. And this is what we're going to go through today, is what are the most likely things to punch holes in your bucket and make this a harder transition? Because Mother Nature did not design this to be a hard transition. She's not like that. There is a fabulous book that I wanted to mention, and that is called The Slow Moon Climbs. And this book is written by a historian who went back and had a look at menopause through the times. And she also had a look at the menopausal transition in Indigenous cultures. And unfortunately, it is our modern lifestyle. Like when you're thinking about what's different now to, say, women 150 years ago, it's our different lifestyle. Our bodies haven't changed that much. Our hormones haven't changed that much. But the environment and how our body interacts with the environment has greatly changed. So now I'm going to walk you through my top reasons why you might be getting holes in your bucket and setting you up for a poor transition. So number one, poor diet. If you're not hydrated and not drinking enough water, you've got a problem. We really want to make sure you're eating adequate amounts of protein. We want to make sure you're having an abundance of good fats while avoiding the bad fats. So bad fats, things like deep fried, trans fats, man-made fats, that kind of thing. Good fats being things like your seafoods and olives and avocados. These are really delicious, natural. The big difference here, is it natural? Is it man-made? That will generally give you a hint to whether it's a good or a bad fat. And we also need to look at our sugar and our processed carbohydrates. We really want to be minimizing sugar consumption and really highly processed man-made carbohydrates again, but eating our fruits, our salads, our vegetables, our beneficial carbohydrates. So the easy thing to take away from this slide, did it come from nature or did it come from a lab? Is it a frankenfood that we have made somewhere which has no nutritional qualities? Or is it something that Mother Nature provided us, which has an array of beautiful vitamins and minerals? And then we need to look at our environment. How toxic is our environment? Are we living in a water-damaged home full of mold that is going to be creating havoc for us? We need to consider toxic metals. So we are the lead generation. Like we grew up with lead-based paint in the walls, and we grew up with lead in petrol. We breathed it in. Some of us chewed on it on our wooden toy blocks. Even when we encountered the metal such a long time ago, it may still be stored in the body. Our body is very intelligent, and when it sees something like lead in the body, it will store it to prevent it from getting to the brain. But now that we're getting a bit older, lead likes to be stored in the bones. And what happens at this stage of life is that we could start developing osteopenia and osteoporosis, looking at the thinning of the bones. So this can be releasing the old lead stores, and we need to deal with that. A lot of the symptoms that we go through with menopause can actually be very similar to lead toxicity. So we need to consider, is toxic metals, and lead was just one example. What about mercury? It's in our seafood, it's in our mouth with our amalgam fillings. But we also need to consider chemicals. So things like xenoestrogens. Xenoestrogens are compounds in the environment that mimic estrogen, but they're more a toxic, proliferative estrogenic effect, which we certainly don't want. In the environment, we also have a lot of obesogens, which could be why we're a lot larger than we have historically been. Obesogens are found in things like plastics. So having a look around your kitchen, how much plastic storage or cookware do you have? You also need to consider things like perfumes. A lot of perfumes are also xenoestrogens and obesogens. So it's just looking also, actually what I tell my women is I don't want you to throw everything out. As things need replacing. So say, for example, you need a new dishwashing liquid. That is a good time to then go and say, I want to find a cleaner, chemical-free version rather than this label that I can't read because it's all just chemicals. I want a natural product. And then just slowly change over time. It makes it cheaper for you, like you're replacing at a time where you need to spend money anyway, and it's going to be better for you in the long run. Then we have a look at poor lifestyle habits. Are you moving? Are you inactive? Humans are designed to be active by nature. We're meant to walk and run and swim, and so should you. Are you smoking? Smokers are known to have an earlier and a more intense menopausal transition. So hopefully that's reason enough to quit. How much alcohol are you drinking? Alcohol is a huge trigger for heat, for hot flushes, and for night sweats and sleeping issues. A lot of people find alcohol helps relax them to get to sleep, but then it also wakes them up and they're wide awake. And we also need to look at stress management techniques, but I'm going to talk about stress later on, so I'll leave that for them, but just know that that's something that it's a non-negotiable. You need to be doing some form of stress management. Nutritional deficiencies. Now, nutritional deficiencies is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So things like vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, I see them as key building blocks. I see your body as a house, like it's just lots of bricks on top of bricks. And really, we need all this nutrition if we want to have a healthy structure, a healthy body, a functioning body. Unfortunately, in this day and age, deficiencies are really common. And about 1 in 3 people have 10 mineral deficiencies or more. So it's not a single. So in my case, it was anemia, it was iron. Most people, it's multiple things. So that's lots of holes in your bucket. So I have previously done some webinars on minerals for menopause. That is something that I recommend that you go back and have a look at because it's really interesting why it is so many and why it's not single issues in general. We need to look at your adrenal health. So your adrenal glands are thought of as your stress glands, and I told you I'd be coming back to stress, as they produce your stress hormones. But they're also responsible for producing a form of estrogen called estrone, and that is our main form of estrogen in postmenopause. So we want to optimize our adrenal health to allow for the greatest production of estrogen later on in life. So it's non-negotiable. You need to look after your adrenal glands. I'm very aware that we live in a stressful environment, that you might be having issues with parents, you might be having issues with children or teenagers, you might be having issues with the cost of living crisis or with your relationship or with your work. I can't change that, but we can change the way you respond to those situations and that you experience joy for the rest of the time. Which is why in my podcast, I go into things that you might not necessarily expect me to go in. So things like the joy of reading, grounding, breathing, exercising. We need to find ways to find joy in our life and to do more of it. So that's a good exercise for you tonight, is just to sit down and jot what are the things that bring you joy. I've recently been away and I saw a lot of stand-up comedy when I was away, and I've decided that I need to schedule more stand-up comedy into my life because laughter is just fantastic, not only for your adrenal health, but for your immune health and your general health. I highly, highly recommend it. Number 6 is your digestive health and your microbiome. So your microbiome is just a term for a collection of the good, the bad, the ugly bacteria that live in your digestive system. The estrobolome is a section of that. And it's that section that really is responsible for metabolizing and modulating circulating estrogen. So if you've got digestive issues and you've got hormonal issues, you really need to start with the digestion first. There's a key naturopathic principle is from inside out. So have a look at what's going on with your digestive health. Is there issues with the estrobolome? This is generally easy to fix if there are. A lot easier to fix that than it is to fix your hormones. We also need to look at your other neurotransmitters. So serotonin is our happy hormone, and it is thought that 95% of serotonin is produced in your gut. Serotonin plays a key role in regulating the thermoneutrosome. And in case you haven't heard of that, I thought I'd quickly explain. So inside this range is the degrees that you feel comfortable. So you're not hot, you're not cold, you're just comfortable. Above here, you're hot and sweaty. Below here, you're cold and shivery. So we'll call it the jacket on, jacket off syndrome of menopause. So serotonin helps to increase this, so we feel comfortable at a broader range of temperatures. Unfortunately, when we don't have enough serotonin, then we don't have enough estrogen, they bring these together. So stress is another one that brings these together. So any sort of stress management helps to pull it apart. And like you just think about the Tibetan monks that meditate most of the day, and in winter they sleep with just a cotton sheet on them. They've got a really good thermoneutral zone regulation going on, and that is stress management. So do you need to learn how to meditate? Do you need to do some breathing exercises or go for a walk at night? Or laugh. Maybe you need to come with me and go to some stand-up comedy shows so that we have a good giggle. And that helps us to regulate our temperatures. So better temperature regulation, you're less likely to feel hot or cold. How good is that? So number 7, your general health. Any undiagnosed or poorly controlled disease process are going to reduce your ability to transition with ease. And the big ones that I see are blood sugar dysregulation. If there is any pre-diabetes, diabetes that is uncontrolled, that definitely is a problem. We need to consider our thyroid health. Is there any suboptimal or maybe some hypothyroidism going on? That's easy to find out through testing. Other signs of hypothyroid sluggishness, weight gain, brain fog, slowness of thought. Some women get constipation. It's all easy to test for. So liver issues such as a fatty liver and any inflammatory conditions, they can all help to reduce your ability to transition with ease, which is the ultimate goal. Women can do it. There is 20% of the population that transitions with ease. Why not us? Let's make it us. So I've given you the 7 tips that I promised to talk about, but I've also got a bonus one for you. So my bonus factor is muscle mass. I'm not sure whether you know, but muscle is the organ of longevity. So if you want to live a long and healthy life, you need to focus on building muscle. And the more muscle you have, the stabler your blood sugar levels are, the slimmer your waistline is, which is a nice little benefit, but also the more stable you are on your feet. Like when we think of older individuals, frailty is often a word that comes up, and low muscle mass definitely contributes to frailty. So if you want to be stronger in your old age, you need to work on building muscle now, because the longer you leave it, the harder it is to build, because you've got sarcopenia, which is a natural wasting away of muscles with age, working against you. So that is a key takeaway. So just to quickly summarize, let's go back and we'll speed through them. Clean up your diet. Clean up your environment. Look at your lifestyle factors. Where can you add in more joy, less stress, more activity, and less some of the toxic habits like smoking and drinking? We want to check out your nutritional status. Do you have any deficiencies? We want to consider your adrenal health. We want to look at your digestive health and the microbiome, your general health, and muscles. So I'm Jennifer Harrington, Clinical Director of Menopause Natural Solutions. I'm also host of the podcast Menopause Natural Solutions. I am the author of From Invisible to Invincible, The Natural Menopause Revolution. I do things like today. I host webinars, do group programs, and I also do one-on-one consultations. And the one-on-one consultations is what lights me up. So when I get to put on my detective hat and try and find out what's punching holes in your bucket so that we can stop them punching holes in your bucket, we can repair the bucket and set you up for a much easier transition through to the other side. So I want to thank you for your company today. If you do have any questions, feel free to email hello@Menopause Natural Solutions, and myself or one of the team will get back to you. I also forgot to mention to you that I offer complimentary discovery calls. So if you're thinking about whether you want to work with me or not, it's a complimentary chat. You can book that in. You can reach out to the team again at hello@Menopause Natural Solutions or from my website, and they will be more than happy to help you find a time. And I would love to meet you in person, well, telehealth, and have a chat with you about your individual condition. So anyway, I wish for you an easy breezy menopausal transition. It is possible. If that's not your reality, please reach out to anybody. This is too long to wait. Menopause does have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It will end. It's just the amount of time between here and here and your quality of life. I don't want you missing a decade of your life. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for your company today. Until next time. Bye.